Welcome to Distorted Opinions. I'm Kayla, and as always, I'm with Matt and Ted. And guys, believe it or not, episode 52.
We did it.
1 year. 1 year. We've made it 1 year. Who would have thought a year ago when we started this show is kind of something to do when we couldn't do anything else during the pandemic, that a year later we'd still be sitting here doing
this.
Hey!
And we still don't know what's going to happen after this too.
That's right. We don't.
Hey.
Yeah.
No,
So, I think today we're probably going to reminisce a little bit about the last year and maybe discuss a little bit of what could potentially happen in the next year. We don't know. So, I don't know about you guys. Yeah, go ahead.
I think, it still feels like every time we do an episode, it still feels like it's the very beginning. And now that we've come 365 days later, 52 episodes, like over half of 100 episodes. And yeah, we'll get there. I think we're going to have another celebration for that. It's just mind boggling. And yeah, maybe we might get there in 2022, but you never know. It's just the guests that we've had, the laughs that we've had, finally getting the damn email right, making that happen. The sensitive topics that we've talked about. People that are here, people that are no longer here. It's just. That's what this, show is about. The show is about everything music related. And I'm sure, and at least hope that, listeners that we've impacted you in some way, shape, and form. And obviously, before we really get into it, let's just say, obviously thank you for everyone who's stuck by us since day one and still continues it. We may not, recognize it, through episodes by saying names, obviously because of privacy issues, but you know who you are. And just want to say a heartfelt, thank you for all those listeners that are sticking by us. Again, this is something that was literally out of the blue that we just, three of us decided to say, hey, let's do the show called Distorted Opinions. Well, what are we going to talk about? Just everything music related. And guess what? It's still going strong. All three of us, we're still having fun. It's just, there's so many things coming down the pipeline. We had Carrie come on as a celebrity. That was like the big highlight of, so far our show. And obviously we have, other goals in mind to have special guests come on the show and just chat with us, just have fun with it. So,
yeah. Well, and I think the show has evolved so much. I mean, from where we were a year ago, quality.
Oh yeah.
Hands down has come a long way. I mean, video or, the way we initially released these episodes, and just the overall quality has improved vastly as we've learned and figured things out, feedback and all the above. So that's one real major milestone, for just overall improvement. It makes it more appealing to new listeners if you're just catching in later on as we continue to release more of these episodes. And it's also, I want to point out that when we first started this, we didn't think about how big or how broad of an audience we would originally be getting. At first, we did this to we're just going to do this for our friends, hyper local. And so we did topics, that would relate to those groups like teacher appreciations. And, because we figured the people that were listening were the people that knew us, they would be able to easily get the outreach to, be able to tell them about the podcast, they can listen and have relatable content. But as we've been growing and learning and meeting new people and sharing and all of that, it's certainly, you've noticed this year, all of our guests, I mean, we've got guests from different time zones, all the way different countries.
Yeah.
So
different countries.
really trying to branch out. And now that we understand that the audience has grown so much over the past year and make it more relatable, more interesting, it's not hyper local anymore. We do have an audience from all over, which is really great. But certainly want to make sure that the topics that we're talking about are relatable to most people,
sure.
Especially when it comes to music. So it's really been fun to have it grow organically, because we didn't, it just became, oh, let's do this. Oh, let's do this. And now we're here.
Right.
Which has been pretty fun.
I could definitely say for us that probably one of the best things about the show is our guests. It just, we get a very dynamic and colorful show. And when we have guests that come on, it just brightens it up. It's literally that casual conversation, and, how the three of us are with just being very chill. We also notice that with our guests too, and let them know, even in our pre-show, that, hey, listen, this is just a regular conversation. We've had some guests that were wary about, what to talk about, even nervous for the first time. We've had guests that, never done a podcast before, and after the show, they said, we can't wait to come back on. So that's what makes this show really fun, is that, we get really excited for any guests that come on. And I think even when things clear up, that the show will still continue on, because, I think it's fun. Not so much I think it's fun. I know it's fun. It's one of those like moments where you could just kind of like break away from the world and just have regular conversations about absolutely anything. More importantly,
right.
having a show, with you guys and whatnot, guys that we grew up with, it makes it even more fun.
Well, and I think, go ahead. Nope. I've already spoken. Kayla, you go.
No, I was just going to say, because I don't know if we had this discussion during a show or after a show, but I remember at one point a few months back, Ted saying that, like, the three of us, like, we probably hung out with each other, so to speak, more than anybody else throughout this whole thing, because this has been an ongoing weekly thing that's been consistent, that we know every week we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about something music related, and it's just a fun thing for us to do. And I hope that's come across to our audience. And based on some of the feedback that we've received, I would say that it probably has kind of transferred to our audience as well. But I think for me, that's been, I agree with Matt. The guests have been a real highlight of doing this. And we've got to, I guess, kind of meet and hang out with some cool people that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to have a conversation with if it wasn't for this show. And, that's something that I've really enjoyed. And despite what a weird time it's been the last year, that I think has given some sense of normalcy. So, I hope we've brought that to our audience, because that's kind of the goal here is to just, we sit down, we have a conversation. And you may have noticed in the last few episodes that we've that's evolved a lot more too, where we're not making the show as structured, and it's really just like, all right, well, what's a question that we want to address on this episode? And then we sit down, and for an hour or so, we just discuss back and forth what our thoughts are on that. And so, I like that. Yeah, exactly. And I like that format, and I hope our audience does too. So,
and again, it goes back to the product of evolving. Right. Because,
right.
We're trying to figure out how you try to figure out your stride. We're all
right.
new to podcasting a year ago.
Right.
We've never done this. And then out over this time, sorting out what we're talking about, how we're going to do it. And, it certainly is a testament to how much the show has grown, and, the way we handle the show and plan ahead. And, at one point last year, we were 8 episodes ahead, and then
right.
and in terms of recording, so we
right.
would have 8 episodes in the can ready
right.
to go out the door. And we were so far ahead, we could take, we don't have to meet every week necessarily, but
right.
I feel like towards the end of the year, we're like, yeah, that's too many, because
well,
then
we got to Christmas, and then it was in November. I think we were at the beginning of November, and we had the Christmas episode to do. And Ted, you were like, no way, I'm not doing a Christmas episode before Thanksgiving.
I just didn't want to be that far ahead, because by the time something comes out, the information changes, and it's not as relevant. So while we do
even now that happens,
sure,
but we're not as far ahead.
Well, exactly, and it's my point, is that we're only a few episodes ahead, a couple, not 8. So we do have some of that luxury, because we do find that structure to work. It's certainly, I still feel like, in terms of generating content, it keeps you on your toes a little bit, because well, we've got to get one out the door. Let's come up with something creative, and we brainstorm as we do, and try to come up with a list of topics in advance. But it's, I don't know, where we are today, I feel a lot better about, for sure. I don't know. We know what we're doing now.
On the one hand, I want to recommend that if we have new people who didn't see the first episode or hear the first episode, that they go listen to it. But on the other hand, I'm like, ooh, that first episode was rough. I mean, it was, not only were we stiff because we hadn't done one and we weren't quite sure, like, it was very
new to Zoom. Like that Zoom
too.
Was still,
our
like,
audio
Zoom was still fairly new. As opposed to doing it 16 times a week for work meetings, never mind the show.
Well, hey, like everything new, there's always going to be a rough path, rough, patch in the beginning. But, actually, I think listeners, check out the first episode and then check this episode again.
Or do you?
You'll love the new episodes. If you've watched the first one, you're like, this is fantastic. You're going to be blown away by the later episodes. Let's just put it that way, because I'm telling you, if you haven't seen on social media at this point, one of our promo videos for this episode, which was that compilation of Matt getting the email address wrong over and over
which
again.
Which is fantastic, by the way. I love that clip.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes of just the email address. So
which I got it now.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, it's been a year later. That's right. But just because I had to sit there and pull the clips for that, just listening to the evolution of the audio quality on the show alone was like, wow, that first few episodes, it's like, wow, this was not very good in terms of podcast audio in particular. But again, as we've progressed, we've improved it. And, I'm not going to say there was definitely good content in those earlier episodes, but boy, I looked back and I kind of cringed at the audio quality.
I forgot to turn on original sound for our Zoom session. So,
really?
Can you tell the difference now?
Oh, yes. Oh, yep, yes, indeed. Hello,
Magic.
Listeners.
Hello.
In case you were wondering how we get such nice audio out of Zoom, that's another thing that we discovered around the beginning of the year, that Matt and Ted could also turn on the original audio in Zoom, and it doesn't process it and make it sound all crappy like you're in a pressure chamber. So
well, now, so I apologize for the first 10 minutes of this
I didn't even notice.
Well,
to be honest, it didn't.
You do now.
I mean, it didn't sound bad. Again, if you go back and compare to the earlier episodes, that still sounded better. And then at one point, Ted, you got a new computer.
Yes.
Which I swear at the same time, your audio quality improved, which is weird because you have the same mic that you had when we started this. So the mic hasn't changed, but it was like, wow, all of a sudden we logged in. I was like, holy crap. Ted's audio is like high def.
The only thing I cringe on with the first episode is my really bad widow's peak. That's the only thing I cringe on. But I also noticed too that when I was reviewing the videos, shit, I didn't realize I went through like 3 mics, and Ted's got like this one mic still throughout the whole time.
Yeah. It's good enough that Kayla got one too.
Yep.
Well, yes, because I started a new job a few weeks ago, and I had to return the mic that I was using to do this, which was a work mic, and I've really been impressed with the sound quality of Ted's Yeti, and I was like, all right, well, so I have a Yeti as well, but my Yeti is black and Ted's Yeti is blue. So
that's true.
Yep. So I went with the Yeti on that. But yeah, Matt's been through a few mics there. What you started with that Shure. Yeah, this one does sound quite a bit nicer than the previous two.
Podcasting too, so it kind of makes sense.
Right. Yes. So yes, between the nice mics and figuring out the sound settings in Zoom, the audio has come a long way, but the cameras have come a long way too, because Matt got a new camera at one point, which as you may or may not know, you probably do if you've had to do a Zoom meeting in the last year. And let's be honest, who hasn't had to do a Zoom meeting for a while there? There were no mics to be found, or no cameras to be found. Probably no mics either, but cameras were really tough to come by. And like, you know, my laptop's got a built-in camera, but I use my DSLR as a camera for this, and I was having a heck of a time finding a capture card for it because everybody else had the same idea I did, which was like, oh, maybe I can turn my DSLR into a webcam and it'll look a little bit nicer. Well, yeah, good luck if you can find the hardware for it. So the show's evolved both in video quality and in sound quality, but all of that aside, I'd like to think we've loosened up a little bit, because the first few episodes, like I said, those were pretty stiff.
The fact that we're comfortable enough just to go in unscripted now, so we were like, okay, we're going to need a script. We're going to need we need to know, I'm going to run down these three things, and you're going to have three things, and we have a list. And
I did like zero prep for this episode.
It's nice and relaxed. I love it
because I've seen them all. So
honestly,
and I'm glad no one on the show got their pants ripped.
For the audio listeners, Matt has a piece of Velcro that he held up to the microphone.
Okay, I'm done.
Welcome to Matt's Foley session.
Where I could say, hey, 1 year. You know, I had Velcro.
Oh, gotcha. Nice.
Although.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
I can.
No.
We do a flyby.
Oh, boy.
Oh, classic. Plane flyby through the camera.
So that's another thing that's happened over the last year. You know, a lot of recurring Taco Bell and Top Gun related Bell jokes, especially over the last few episodes. That comes up from time to time. I think we've definitely got some inside joke kind of references that have developed out of the last year of doing this show. And it's not a show without Matt having some sort of analogy that's like really makes you think for a moment. Like, okay, or
I just pick it up. I'm like, we're moving on.
Yeah.
The best one is when I don't make sense and Ted goes, okay, so we just move on.
Anyway,
we're just gonna leave that there.
Or if I make a really, really bad, like awkward comment, Ted's like, oh, that's gross. Ew.
Just call it right out.
Yeah, those were some of actually my favorite moments, because I relived a few of those when I was putting together that promo video for the email thing. Like the Luke episode where Matt went off on some tear about how he had an OnlyFans email address, and immediately Ted's no, you don't. Like, there wasn't even a pause to think about it. It was just like, no, you don't. Yep.
Or referencing Pornhub.
Yeah, you've done that a couple times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or having our what was it? Our person? No, our what was I saying? Oh, Alexa is our personal assistant.
Maybe. I don't quite remember.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
We can't forget about the scratch and sniff.
Oh God.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was it? It was
I think it was our TV show soundtracks episode, because I had mentioned that Cozy TV had a thing where you could have them send you. They were doing a scratch and sniff special of The Office, and so they had this card and you could scratch it while you were watching the show, and it would come up with a thing on the screen that was like, scratch this thing now. And they had one that was roast beef that was just disgusting. And I believe what you described it as was maybe it was pot roast because you called it crap roast, I believe.
Crap roast.
Yes. And we discussed that being a potential band name at some point. Crap roast.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the TV soundtracks episode. That was another good one. That was one that. Oh, go ahead.
I'll let you finish that thought.
I was just going to say, Ted's dad actually emailed after that one because he had a list of other shows that we could have talked about. And it's yet another one of those topics where at the end or the beginning of it, we're like, well, there's going to be plenty to talk about here. So we'll probably revisit this at some point. And then we've yet to revisit it. So for all I know, the next year could just be a rehash of the previous year, just revisiting all of those topics again and discussing the other things that we didn't discuss because we keep saying we're going to revisit it. No, I know. I'm joking.
Yeah. No, I think, the only episode we've done a repeat on was video game music.
Oh, yeah. A few times.
I was going to mention the gear talks and the monthly segment of talking something gear. I've always, it's been a pretty fun monthly segment to have. Some things I'm doing research for, drumsticks. I know more about drumsticks today because of that episode.
Right.
And the notes that I put together and with the history and the different sizes, because up until that point, I'm only, here we go again. All the thicknesses and lengths. That episode, I learned so much just to be prepared for it. And so I really hope that one came off as extra informational because I feel like I learned so much from it, just putting it together. And the same for even talking about the cymbals. Obviously, we've done pedals and guitars and
strings,
acoustic strings,
acoustics,
first guitar. We've certainly covered a variety of different gear. But that's
can't forget we did picks too.
And picks
was an episode. Jeez,
I know.
Almost forgot
that addiction
one.
Still hasn't died. Just a general update. More picks have been purchased from our friend Jack at Jacketto Picks, and some
I'm up to 22.
And how many?
Not including the ones I just ordered.
Yeah, how many do you have on order? So you already have 22.
6.
How many? Okay.
Yes, so you can, if you're watching the video version, they're all sitting on my amp behind me. I'm starting to run out of space on the amp to put these up there, so I might have to do Ted's approach and get a piece of foam and stand them up in it as a display.
Yeah, I mean, they're very good looking.
They are.
But so guitar picks definitely highlight, and that habit has not died. I'm trying to be good. I think I have 10.
Ted's ordered a few too. Yeah,
10 total. I don't have 22.
Ted's a drummer, by the way.
Hey, some of them might be gifts.
Ooh.
So not all mine.
They are really. Again, I'll mention it. They really are pieces of art, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they really are, and they're all they're all unique. It's like a one-time thing. You're not gonna get the same pick.
Shout out to Jack at Jacketto Picks. Keeps on making cool designs. But definitely a more recent hobby that we've talked about extensively, and it continues to come up. But back to some of our guests, having the Ritualist on this year, and when we mentioned that the guests have come back, or this year we're broadening horizons with the guest interviews and things. Having Ritualist was awesome. Those guys were so cool and pretty neat. They're in the studio again, by the way. They're recording more stuff, so that's really exciting. Might be able to get them back to talk about their latest album, and if any of those songs have shit names.
I was gonna say, I hope we hear the original names.
We have to hear the new shit names.
Yes.
Turd sandwich, shit sandwich, and
shit sandwich.
There's a couple of other interesting names they had before the official title came out. But yeah, and then not to mention, how about all of our songs of the weeks?
Oh, yeah.
So 52 times 3.
Yeah,
Well,
but we didn't do songs of
guests.
the week for Gear Talks,
Oh.
but then we add some in for
Right.
guests.
Hold on. I got this. I'll tell you how many we
Oh, yeah,
have.
because we have the playlist.
Not including
easy
this
count.
episode.
Right.
Because this episode won't have been added to the playlist yet, as the last episode won't be added yet either, because I add them when the episodes drop. Let's see. We have, including this week's show that has to be added, 121 songs, which is probably about 8.5 hours worth of music in our Spotify playlist, just from the Song of the Week picks over the last year.
Jesus.
There you have it.
121 songs, 8.5 hours.
And that doesn't include, we did some special playlists for certain episodes, like the video game soundtracks episode has a special playlist. I believe we did one for acoustic songs. We had a holiday playlist. I don't think we did a Halloween playlist. I think we just did Song of the Week for that. But we did do a holiday playlist. So, yeah, there's a few bonus playlists out there, too. But the main playlist, 121 songs, not including this episode.
That's awesome. Hopefully, and I know it's all over the map, too, because it's marching band stuff. When we had a marching band episode, we have
Irish music.
The Nutcracker in there. There's Rush, Sabbath, Korn, Megadeth, Double Drive, System of a Down. It's literally all over the place.
Well, and the Ritualist guys, when we had their interview with them, we all picked like death metal music, except for one person, I believe it was Daniel, chose a Bruno Mars song, which came out of left field compared to everybody else. It's like, oh, really? That's unexpected. Cool song. Hadn't heard it before. The guest picks have been an opportunity sometimes to hear a song that I wouldn't have otherwise heard. Same thing with Ray and Joda when they came on. Their picks were all songs that I'd never heard before. I'd never heard of those groups. Bill Murray, I was you mean the actor? And then I went and listened to some of the songs. Yeah, I was like, wow, these are really cool songs. So, I think for us, it was also an opportunity to hear some songs that we hadn't otherwise heard, doing the Song of the Week pick and getting to hear what the guests choose. And I think that's a little fun aspect for the guests, too, to pick something out that they want to talk about at the end of the show. So I always look forward to the Song of the Week. That's always a good segment for sure.
Know. Yeah, and I think my highlight overall would be having Carrie on.
Oh,
because I think even at the very beginning when we were brainstorming what the heck are we even going to talk about, how cool would it be if we get Carrie on our show? That was literally one of those thoughts that just was put out the ether, and we pulled it off for episode 36.
If I go back to because I record prior to us actually starting the show and then sometimes a bit after, and I'll bet if I go back to one of our early shows and look at the file, I could probably find a part in one of the first few episodes where we had discussion about that, and it was like, boy, that's a lofty goal. I don't know if we're gonna get Carrie on this show. Like, we're a bunch of nobodies. And then she shows up and we're like, just an hour, we'll only take up an hour of your time. And it was 3 hours of sitting here with her, and she might have stayed longer too, quite honestly, because she stuck around after we finished and we talked to her for a while, and that was really cool. We, got to hear a little bit about what's going on in her life personally, and I have to say, something I'm really excited about, because I don't think she mentioned this on the show. I think it was a conversation she had with us after the show, was that she was hopeful that one day she and Mike Shue might work at the same radio station again. And for those who are not aware, Mike Shue and Carrie are now both on the Pike, which is based out of Worcester. And
here's my
it's only been a few months. So
again, I don't have poppers, so I have to do something.
Oh yeah, the celebratory Velcro.
I could take my pants off, but that'd be just
no, you don't.
Nope, that's a different kind of show, and that's not.
That goes to that OnlyFans site that you claim to have.
Yeah. So
all you have to do is just bend down and go.
Yeah, sure.
That's a sound of
boy.
Shorts being ripped open.
Sure.
Cool.
Anyway.
All right. So Carrie, it was really exciting to hear that after she had mentioned that they are indeed working at the same radio station again, which is really cool. So if you haven't, even if you don't live in New England, if you're interested in checking out their shows, the Pike has an app where you can listen on their website, and that's how I listen, because I don't really get good reception of that station where I live, so I have to listen online. But I'm really glad to hear both of them back on the air. That was really exciting, and I believe Carrie's still continuing to do her podcast, and I think she's still doing her Tuesday night Cocktails in the War Room. I haven't been able to watch them in a while, but yeah, it was great having her on the show, and
the timing worked out perfectly.
Yeah, and really cool that she stuck around for way more than an hour to talk to us about all things AAF and all things Mistress Carrie podcast and Cocktails in the War Room and some additional stories too.
And it goes to, what I was mentioning at the beginning of this episode, of just being chill. Mm-hmm. I mean, Carrie is just an amazing person. And, again, we spent a few hours with her, recording, and then even an hour or two after recording, and we got to know Carrie from a personal side, which, out of respect, we won't mention on the show, but it was just a great honor to, just talk with her and, get to know that Carrie is just like a person like you and I. So
I mean, overall, you can tell from the episode, the stories that she was telling, and some of her crazy experiences, and
amazing. The stealing of the toilets, my favorite.
And no one let us know who has that toilet, by the way. No one reached out.
That person must not be listening to our show.
Yeah, maybe not. That's true. But on a different question, because Kayla, you have the analytics. How many countries are we, or have listenership just by country count? I'll give you a moment to pull those things up. But
do you want to know like specific countries or just how many?
Well, how many, and then some notable ones or odds and ends.
By the way, before you jumping into that, for listeners that are maybe missed that stolen toilet story, you could check out episodes 36 and 37 with Carrie.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it was
36 was when most of that happened, because that was during the AAF conversation.
If you want to get the full mantra
of
thy Mistress Carrie.
That's right.
36, 37.
Yep.
That's right. So to answer your question, Ted, we are in 18 countries right now. Most of our listeners are here in the U.S., and I can give you a breakdown by cities if you really wanted to know that. And then the second most listeners, I guess, would be actually Australia, which I'm going to credit to our friend Jack over at Jacketto Picks, because he's plugged our show a few times on Instagram. So I would imagine that some of his people have checked out the show. And then the UK, shout out to Lee over in the UK. I know he's been listening to us. I think I mentioned Lee on a previous show, ham radio operator. We've got people in, if you want some of the more interesting countries that I'm like, I wonder how these people found us. The Philippines, Thailand, Guadalupe, Switzerland, Iceland, Norway.
Hey, we'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. We got some real interesting countries that I'd love to know how those people have found our show.
Know a couple people in Norway, but I don't know that they would have necessarily listened. But
hang on. Whoop. It doesn't break down region. Oh, and 100% of those people, in case you were wondering, are listening from Earth. because it also gives a breakdown of other planets, and we've got nobody listening from the other planets, which, quite frankly, if that were the case, I'd be a little bit like...
It's still traveling out, you know, if it's
it is
the message, speed of light, it's going to take a while. Yeah.
Atmosphere. Yep.
That's fine. Hey, I mean, listen, we're starting to really explore Mars. So
that's right.
What can we do to get it on the next Mars rover? Just a little boombox.
Gonna need
mount on the rover itself and just blast it.
Gonna need some donations for that, I think.
They can download Spotify where you could find this show.
You gonna have that kind of internet on Mars? You'd have to be.
Listen, if they could figure out communications through a 4K.
Pre-download.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Boom. Premium, Spotify Premium. Download that. Take it with you. Or just use one of the other podcast platforms where you don't have to pay. Well, no, actually, you don't have to pay to download podcasts on Spotify either. So never mind. Forget my previous
for
statement.
the whole exploration of the planet. Maybe I'll repeat, but
that's all right.
At least it won't get boring.
Yeah.
True.
For the record, for the listeners, there is a thunderstorm happening. So if you do hear any thunder or,
I just saw some. I've seen about 5 strikes of like. Oh, I heard the thunder on your end, and I hear it here too.
It's happening. Just FYI that it's not in your neck of the woods at the moment. It's literally on our end while we're recording this.
In case you're looking out your window and you're like, it's a sunny day here. That's odd.
I'm hearing thunder. Nope. That's weird.
It's not hot.
I hear birds too.
I mean, what are some of the things to do for next year now that we're...
Well, hold on. There's one guest that I think we have to mention, and also a listener of the show. There are a few, I suppose, but Luke came on the show from Town Meeting a few months back and did 2 episodes with us, and Luke has been a longtime supporter of the show, so just want to give it a shout out to him and let our listeners know that Town Meeting is playing gigs again. So if you're interested in checking them out, I'd recommend going to their website and taking a look at the list of dates that they have coming up for future gigs. I'm sure they're going to add more as things start to open up again too. So sorry, just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, and we got to shout out Marcus for the double episode as well. And
Marcus, our first guest.
Our very first guest, and he was in a band, and bands plural.
6 bands.
That's crazy.
It was 6. Yeah.
But I imagine they'd be making music as things open up as well. So,
I would imagine.
Shout out to Marcus for that too.
That's all right. Yeah.
We'll have to have
him back on.
Yeah.
As one of these days, we'll try to aim to have a live, once things open up, have a live episode where it's seeing the band, Marcus's band, maybe even Town Meeting, any bands that, any guests that have been on our show, seeing them live and, even getting to talk with them again.
That'd be pretty cool.
Pretty nice. You might even see some episodes with live jam sessions when you catch all of us with the guitars again.
Yeah, that's true. A little snippet in.
And candy. And a Pizza Hut light. And beer. Yes. A bunch of shenanigans.
So that's actually a good segue, because what I was trying to get into was 1 year down, where do we go from here? And this entire show has been recorded over Zoom, and how we would like to eventually do this in person. But what would that look like? How would we set that up? We'd have like an actual studio-ish type of camera setup, and we one microphone it, multi-mic. Like, there's just so much, but we do want to do one of these shows in person for the first time, because it's never happened that way. And that would be something I see us doing in the next year easily, hopefully sooner. But that would be one thing. Maybe getting different guests, maybe higher decent profile bands, maybe
upcoming bands.
Upcoming bands would be great.
Yeah.
don't know, just trying to think of, there's certainly a lot of things that we're hoping to do, and some of it is still in the works, but we do have plans to continue to grow and move forward as 1 year down, but we learned so much. So it's
the
all
world
right.
is our pearl in our crack.
Excuse me. All right. Moving
Pearl
on.
at our oyster.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Whoops.
I think again, what you said is another show entirely.
Hey, it could have been worse because of butt crack.
But
And there it is.
Oh wait. We also have bands that have funny names. That's right.
Are we just spitballing new show topics right now, or are we?
There was an episode where we talked about. Oh wow! Hey, listen, I'm no youngster. Okay, I'm looking at our episode list. I'm trying to recalibrate some of our conversations because some of the shit that we say is just it's either on the fly or scripted. But what it was like something like silly fingers. It was something fingers. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Don't let this pause.
I'll
figure it out.
You'd have to go back into the audio file and find it.
I got to go back to the vault for that one.
Yeah, I do recall that joke, but and me having the same reaction as
it was international bands. It was episode, yes. We spoke
like
about international bands.
Smelly
46.
fingers or something weird.
Yes. Oh.
If anyone's wondering how I'm calling out these episodes so quickly, is that we do have a spreadsheet tracking all of this, because
That's
we
right.
have to keep this straight
Yeah.
somehow. Make sure we
and
don't pick the same song of the week twice.
That's the big thing.
What our topics were, when they came out, just general organization, because otherwise we'd be completely lost.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was recent enough. But yeah, besides that, I think I'm really proud that we've accomplished so much in the past year, and who knew we were going to put together something so notable, lack of a better term, I guess, and accomplishing such a cool project that was just a means of let's not go crazy in the house for a year. But yeah, it's been really awesome doing this show, and definitely happy to have both of you on board for being a part of it. It's been really fun, and look forward to continuing the episodes as we move forward.
It is going to be fun.
I hope so. I hope we do. I hope we can stick around for another year. I think things are going to get interesting when life starts to return back to semi-normal here. We'll kind of see how things go, but yeah.
Stiff Little Fingers. That was the band. Stiff Little Fingers.
Wait, that's actually the band? Like that's
Yes,
the name of the
Stiff
band?
Little Fingers.
Okay.
Yes, it's an 80s band from Belfast.
That's
Okay.
right.
Right.
Yeah, and it still sounded weird. Still sounds weird.
Yeah, still sounds weird, and it's been a few months, and that still hasn't digested yet.
Crab roast with stiff little fingers. I think it's just the word stiff. It just kind of makes it ooh.
Ugh, gross.
Like you can like you can just get like if you get rid of stiff and just call little fingers, okay. Little fingers. Miniature clowns, but then you add stiff. Ooh.
I just think of like sausage weenies that are
Vienna
just
sausage weenies,
no, like the little cocktail weenies. Just
sponsored by OnlyFans.
no.
Yes. Vienna fingers, Vienna sausages, and OnlyFans collaborate to celebrate stiff little fingers.
That's gross.
Like, can we side trip?
You kind of put your fingers together and there's like a little sticky substance that goes.
No, stop. We're gonna lose viewers immediately
if we haven't already.
Yeah, we're going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Okay, I just had to mention that. All right, we're going back.
Can we side trip for 1 second though, and not to toot my own horn or anything, but one of my favorite promos so far for this show,
the Top Gun
is
one,
that the movie soundtracks one, and largely because of all of the various, at the time that we were recording, things that I didn't notice that Matt made as far as references to Top Gun, that it was like, I went to put that together, and it's like, oh, okay, here's another clip where he has a little model plane fly by. Oh, look, he's got another one that comes by. Oh, and behind him is a sign, and he's got a little ornament that plays the theme song. Like, it was just, and then like the real highlight was after it posted, when Luke commented and said he literally fell out of his chair laughing at the part where Matt pointed at the sign behind him. It was the eyebrows that did it for me on that one, because again, it was stuff that I didn't notice when the show was actually happening. But yeah, a lot of time went into making that promo.
Well, it came out great.
It came out great because also Kayla did the solo to the theme.
That's
in
true.
that promo, so even better.
One of the rare occasions where people can see me playing guitar on Instagram, because as I've said on previous shows, I don't post my playing to Instagram. In fact, that promo posted, and Ted, your dad texted me. I didn't even know your dad had my phone number. I didn't know who it was because it didn't have, like, I didn't have him in my phone book. And he was like, you said that you'd never play on social media, and I just saw you playing on social media. And somehow I put 2 and 2 together, and I was like, is this Ned? And he was like, it is indeed. And I was like, all right, I'll put you in my contacts now so I know.
Funny.
That's hilarious.
But he called me out on that. You said you wouldn't do it, and then you did. Well, that's the rare occasion, folks. If you haven't seen the promo, go check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
but
yep.
With that, you guys thinking about the
Song of
1
the week?
year Song of the Week?
I think so.
What do we... Matt, I see you warming up. All right.
I'll break the ice for this one.
Okay.
So part of me was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I might reference my first tune, which was Red Hot Chili Peppers' Don't Forget Me. But then I thought, well, wait a minute. Kind of doesn't make any sense to have a Don't Forget Me is kind of like that, again, that psychedelic type of tune. I want something different because we got to add to that list. So nevertheless, one of the things I did continuously mention, especially in the very beginning, was I'm an 80s guy. And one of the songs I'm going to talk about is the song called True Survivor from David Hasselhoff.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Starter Kung Fury, released in 2015. What to say about this? It's probably Hasselhoff at his best. Yes, I know a lot of people out there think Hasselhoff is a joke. There are some people out there that think Hasselhoff is a god.
The Germans.
Yep, pretty much.
Our German fans are going to be going nuts right now. That 1% of people in Germany that are listening to us. Oh yeah, they're like,
just went from 2% to 15%.
That's right. Tell your friends, Germany. Tell your friends.
I mean, if there's anything that this came actually as an accidental recommendation on YouTube, and I checked out the music video, and I was like, wow, it's David Hasselhoff, and there's this guy in a red headband that's obviously, this is all 80s themed. Oh, it's a half-hour movie that's from a Kickstarter based in Sweden. Okay, I'll check it out. And fell in love with it. And the song is pure 80s. Some of the actors in it, it's definitely got that 80s nostalgia to it. We're talking about like cops with ninja skills, and the bad guy, the antagonist is Hitler. Okay, which he's fighting all these Nazis, and his partner is a rhinoceros cop. Yes, I'm sorry, a triceratops cop, not a rhinoceros. So yes, a dinosaur. And needless to say, you have David Hasselhoff that comes in here. He pulls up and he's like, "You got a permit for those guns?"
Oh
And he
my
just
God.
goes ape shit on these gangs that are trying to like fire at him, and he does a split, and he says, "Permit denied." And it goes right into this like 80s nostalgia with it's phenomenal, but it's
You sure it's not a video game? It sounds like a video game.
Listen, after this, go to YouTube, listeners, guys, type in True Survivor. It's a kick-ass song. It's got a keytar in it.
Okay.
And at the very end, you have David Hasselhoff with the star of the movie riding a T-Rex in the middle of a desert.
I mean,
so
there's a lot.
Is it a T-Rex
It's a
with
lot
no
to take
name?
in,
Yeah.
but it's amazing. So True Survivor from the motion picture Kickstarter 2015, Kung Fury. With that said,
With that, who's what? No.
who wants to go next?
I was going to say, I know we referenced the very first song of the week, and I decided to reference that first song pick that I made. A year ago, first song of the week was Korn's Freak on a Leash, because it's probably one of the most influential albums on my life, I suppose, and in my music choices and things. So Korn Freak on the Leash was track 14 on that album. Tracks 1 through 12 were completely silent. And so I will continue with the very next song, as we're 1 year later, Got the Life, which is the next song in line after Freak on a Leash on that album. So that was off of the 1998 album Freak on a Leash from Korn. And
I think every year we have an anniversary episode. You should just go down the line on that album.
I mean, fortunately, there's a couple more years ahead, so it started at the beginning of the album pretty much. But yeah, Got the Life, catchy tune. If you
phenomenal tune.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people from our age group know what that song is, but certainly it's catchy. Great tune. So 1 year later, next song down the line, there we go. Kayla,
Awesome.
what do you got?
Well, before I go into my pick,
we
the
got the spiel, of course.
usual reminder here that we have in case you haven't picked it up in our previous discussion on this episode, a Spotify Song of the Week playlist where we
Wait, there's a Spotify Song Week playlist?
There is.
What?
Who knew?
Can I
Somebody
listen to it on
just
Mars?
tuning in. That's who. Yes, there is a Spotify Song of the Week playlist, Ted. And we put all of our picks in their entirety into that playlist, including the ones we're going to talk about today. And you can check out our previous picks in there as well. And if you're watching the video version of the show, we're also going to put a code on the screen here that you can scan to get to the playlist. And all you have to do is open up the Spotify app on your phone or mobile device. Click the little camera button in the search bar and point it at the screen, and it will take you to our playlist. I highly recommend that you favorite it so that you can find it quickly. With that, my pick of the week is not... See, I didn't really think this part through, and I didn't pick something that tied into our first episode, but I did pick something that I felt tied into some of our other episodes. And for me, it is kind of a nostalgic song, so since we're revisiting and talking about excuse me, great. Now I can't talk because all of a sudden
so
I've got
emotional.
hang on. Okay, hold on. Hopefully I can get through this.
It's okay. I
Okay.
made sound effects to keep you busy.
Thank you. Yeah, allergies are kicking my butt right now. So
Kicking my
the song, that's right. The song that I went with is one that a lot of people maybe haven't heard of. It's called Vintage Eyes by a group called Second Coming, and it's off their 1998 self-titled album, Second Coming. These guys formed in LA in 1990, and in 1992 they moved to Seattle and released their first album, Love, in 1994. they had a lot of different lineup changes over the years, but the two consistent members of the band were the drummer James Bergstrom and the bassist Johnny Bacalus. And those two guys had been friends since childhood. And you may recall a few episodes back, I talked about Alice in Chains and how an early incarnation of Alice in Chains was Alice in N with an apostrophe Chains, and it was a slightly different lineup with Lane Staley and these two guys actually, who were part of the original lineup of Alice in Chains. So ties in a little bit there, but the band apparently moonlighted as a cover band called FTA, which stood for Funding the Album, and they did this to raise money in order to record the album.
I'm sure that's what it says.
I mean, according to Wikipedia, that's what Wikipedia says.
Oh, the trusted source.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's right. That's right. Yep. So, in college, I was told never to use Wikipedia. For this show, Wikipedia everything. So they raised the money to record the album Second Coming as this moonlighting band that they had. And this song in particular, I remember hearing for the first time on WAAF, and it got a lot of play around that time period, and I just loved this song. It's such a great tune, and I'll admit I had not really listened to any of their other stuff until last night when I started putting notes together for this episode, but they have a lot of really great songs on that album that sound a lot like Alice in Chains. They have some sounds of some other groups from that time period as well, but oddly, if you listen to the other songs on the album, they all sound very different from Vintage Eyes. And I don't know, to this day, I still love that song. That song probably puts that band into one-hit wonder status because I really don't think they were known for any other song other than Vintage Eyes. But if you haven't heard it, give it a listen. Great song. Confessional and Tonight off of that album, those have some very AIC vibes. So if you like Alice in Chains, I think you'll like these guys. Again, it's Vintage Eyes by Second Coming, and that is my Song of the Week pick for our 1-year anniversary episode. So,
love it.
Amazing. Amazing.
Anything
else, or are we ready to wrap this?
I think the only thing is just a plug or reaching out to us. If you have any feedback, want to let us know what your favorite parts of the past year of any of our episodes, or jokes or topics or things you want to see us do in the next year, reach out to us at distortedopinionshow@gmail.com and leave us a voice message if you'd like at anchor.fm/distortedopinions, and any of our social medias, any of them, any and all. You know them. Yep. Instagram, Facebook.
We are on TikTok as well, although I haven't posted anything over there in a while. Yes, we've been on TikTok for some time now, but TikTok's such a pain because you have to make it less than 60 seconds. So if I pull a clip for the other platforms and it's just slightly over 60 seconds, now I have to find a way to somehow trim that to fit within the guidelines of posting to TikTok. So
look at us being trendy. I didn't know we had a TikTok. I'm learning this right now. Right.
Yeah, I didn't promote it very much, but
we're there apparently. Hey.
We're there. Yeah. Yep. So if you're on TikTok, Distorted Opinions. Our social media platforms and Anchor are the only platforms that don't have show on the end of them. As we've discussed at length, and we've beaten to death in that promo video about the email address, Distorted Opinions was not available. So it had to be Distorted Opinions Show for the email. Sure. For everything else, just look for Distorted Opinions, and that's where you'll find us. So just
ask us how we know, because I mess up the email in the first 30 episodes.
Glorious.
Oh, but it rubbed off at one point because back in like April, I forget which show it was, but I screwed up the email address, partially because we did it not at the very end of the show like we normally do. We did it before, I think, the Song of the Week. So it threw me off because it was, again, we were very scripted, and so I didn't have my notes in front of me, and I screwed up the email address, and I was like,
off the
gee.
cuff,
And then
we
you all
lost it.
called me out for it, and I'm sure Matt felt a little bit better about himself because I screwed it up that time, and that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Nice.
It's like I handed the trophy off. But
yes.
other than
Yes.
that, you know, I think maybe it's good to say that if we could add one more song to this list, because it is the first year,
Oh, going
we're
on
not going anywhere.
deep fake.
I have to throw this one in here. And it's Starships. Nothing's going to stop us now, because as far as us three goes, we're not going anywhere. We're still going to continue doing this show. We're still going to have great guests to come on the show. We're still going to have great topics to talk on the show. We still have a bunch of randomness from all three of us coming on the show. I'll have more analogies for all you lovely ears to listen to.
More pieces of Velcro.
Celebration
More
Velcro.
Top Gun references.
Oh yeah.
And probably
Especially
Top Gun
when that
will
movie
pop up.
finally comes out, I'm sure Matt will have something to say about it, because I know he's been very vocal on the social media platforms whenever there's been a post about
I have.
Top
You
Gun.
Please, it's all public too. And we'll talk
Cool.
about my best friends at the A&R reps. We'll talk about how smart they are.
We'll eventually get to that episode.
Eventually we will.
But with that, I think everybody, thanks for joining us. Then,
Thanks for the support.
thank you for the support, and
Yeah.
we'll chat or chat. We're not talk. We'll
we're
three of us
chatting.
will
We're
chat,
chatting. Yeah.
and everyone else can listen in.
You
Next
can
week.
chat with us through a voicemail. I mean,
That's true.
Ken,
kind of.
But yeah,
the
So-
answer.
Thank you for all of the support over the last year. We hope you continue to stick around for what we hope is another year of more great music discussion on
And if
Distorted
you end up on
Opinions.
Mars, continue to listen to us.
That's right. And let us know so we can add
Let us
that to
know.
our stats.
that's right.
That's right. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week. Thanks for tuning in.